Now a new memoir, unlike anything we've seen before. The kids are all right. It is the amazing story of four siblings who watched their world fall apart as their father died, then their mother, who was Ann Williams, a soap opera star. And then somehow they managed to pull their lives back together, and we mean together.
I love that we have his...
Meet Dan Welch and his three sisters, happy together now, but their life could be a movie. They started out with some of those picture-perfect parents, Bob and Ann.
They were like commercial beautiful kids, like Gerber baby kind of kids.
Amanda, Liz, Dan, and Diana loved growing up in Bedford, New York. It was just north of New York City. Dad, a financial advisor. Mom, an actress, Ann Williams, first on Broadway, then TV, known to millions of soap opera viewers.
I remember one time someone recognizing at the toll booth, and the toll person, knew Mom, and she was like, "Oh, you're Eunice, and, my favorite character."
I didn't feel any hatred toward her or animosity.
For 10 years, she was Eunice Wyatt on CBS's Search for Tomorrow.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You've got something that belongs to me.
But co-star Morgan Fairchild says Ann's most cherished role was Mom.
She loved those kids. She loved those kids. She talked about them all the time.
Then tragedy. Bob died in a car crash after an all-night drive in from New England. The children, ranging from 4 to 16 years old, watched as their mother struggled.
She wandered around the house crying. I mean, she just never stopped crying.
And up ahead, another trauma. Mom had cancer.
It was exactly a month to the day my father died that my mother got her cancer diagnosis. Our life was already just sort of ripping apart at the seams.
With all the children in tow, she battled while starring on ABC's Loving.
I would actually take her, in a wheelchair and wheel her from one set to the next, and she'd get up and be able to perform the scene and then just collapse.
But in the end, the cancer was too much. The Welch children tried to hang on.
I was kind of waiting to become an adult and waiting to survive my childhood, and everything was just, I can make it through this if I just wake up tomorrow.
Liz says when the end came, there was heartache and one more gift.
I said, I just want you to know that I love you. And that is the one moment where she cried. She said, I love you more.
In 1985, Ann died at the age of 50. For the children, no one, no relatives, no friends could take all four of the men. So, now orphaned, they were forced to separate. Each one of them was sent to a different guardian's family.
I think being split up really was the most painful thing for us, because losing your parents is awful. Not to have one another to compare those feelings with was really hard.
They tried to stay in touch with visits, calls, letters, sibling bond unbreakable. But for Diana, who was only 8, it was the hardest. Her guardians didn't let her see the others very often. Scared, for 5 years, she just longed for her old family.
I didn't really know how to get in touch with them. You're 8. You don't really know how to do stuff like that.
By 1990, they had reunited. Diana moved in with Amanda. Dan and Liz were off to college, but together, life and the children marched forward.
My siblings really were so strong and so there for me that when I moved back in with them when I was 13, it was like, oh, everything's better now. Like, life is good.
Today, all the girls are now married, and Dan is engaged. The first Welch grandchild has arrived. And the biggest gift, always each other.
I kind of learned everything I know from my sisters. They really taught me how to be a man. I love them.
They got themselves through it. They found their hearts. They found each other. And the kids are all right.
And the healing strength that siblings bring to each other is the story in this book, with a lot of twists and turns along the way. And if you want to read a chapter and learn more about their story, go to abc.com/books.